Hello and welcome to Anime Memories, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking about Angel Beats. With the success of titles like Kanon and Clannad, key visual novel anime became the measuring stick for how good a drama could get. Then Clannad After Story came along and it became one of the most highly acclaimed anime of all time. So when it was announced that Key would be working with Aniplex and PA Works to create this show, the hype was unreal, but once it was released, it became very divisive. It has its fans who adore it, but there are others that say it's utter crap. I even heard one guy say that this was his least favourite anime. While I do enjoy this show, I also agree with much of the criticism that's been thrown at it. So I was a bit conflicted for a while, and there was a time when I was questioning if this is even any good. And it wasn't until I was rewatching it for this video that I was finally able to answer that. So, let's get into it. The first episode begins with the main character Otonashi waking up near an unfamiliar high school with no memory of how he got there. The first person he meets is a girl named Yuri who informs him that everybody here is dead and that this world is some sort of limbo. It's also a very dangerous place as a white-haired girl known as Angel is terrorizing the students at the school. In order to protect everyone, Yuri created the not yet dead battlefront, and seeing as Otonashi's first encounter with the Angel went horribly, he decides to join. However, as he regains his memories, he begins to realise that there's more to this world than he originally thought. If it hasn't become obvious yet, this anime has a lot of negatives and they can all be traced back to one central problem. And that is the god-awful pacing. During the first few episodes, everything was going fairly smoothly. They were doing a decent job at building up the world and creating character relationships. But about halfway through, the pacing picks up a bit, they start skimming over a lot of important details, and a few cracks begin to appear in the armour. And then in the last 2 or 3 episodes, everything falls apart, nothing's explained properly, and the plot just takes a nosedive off a cliff. It's as if they had 10 hours of content written and they tried to shove it all into 45 minutes. And because of this, the story suffers heavily. There are plot holes all over the place, and the conclusion isn't as satisfying as it should be. While there's a ton of disagreement on whether or not this is a good anime, I think we can all agree that it was extremely rushed. However, the biggest problem with the pacing is that it creates a cast of underdeveloped characters. To start off with a positive though, the core 6 or 7 characters are fleshed out reasonably well. Sure, their side plots aren't always that great, but I appreciated the effort. I especially liked how Otonashi was developed. He doesn't have much of a personality, he's basically a typical nice guy. However, after they revealed his backstory, he got some much needed complexity, and in my eyes, he became a worthy protagonist. Although it's such a pity that the well-developed main cast came at the cost of every single other character in the show. There are dozens of supporting members in Battlefront that don't receive any kind of focus or spotlight. Takamatsu, TK, Noda, all of these guys could have been really interesting, but since there's only 13 episodes, they're relegated to having one-note personalities. There is so much wasted potential. I wish they had have given this anime a full 26 episodes. The supporting cast would have turned out so much better. Now there's one issue left that I don't quite think is related to the pacing, but it's worth bringing up anyway. I didn't like the comedy that much. Similar to Kanon and Clannad, Angel Beats has a lot of goofy jokes to help lessen the blow that many of the emotional scenes have. And there are a few genuinely funny moments. Whenever they were playing a few seconds of the ending theme before one of the characters got hurt, it always made me laugh. Overall though, the humour is lame. It's nowhere near as funny as Kanon or Clannad, it's incredibly repetitive, and they rely way too heavily on the word moron.
Make him stop! He's a moron!
Exactly. Our weakness is that we're morons.
Nada, you moron.
Bluntly put, he's another moron.
But you can use morons.
This isn't a pacing problem, this is straight up bad writing. Industry professionals should be able to do better. Although while the story and characters are heavily flawed, the technical aspects are almost flawless. The visuals look outstanding, the colours are vibrant, the lighting effects are on point, the animation's smooth, and despite it being in an unoriginal setting, the backgrounds still manage to look gorgeous. The only negative I could find is that there's the occasional scene with some crappy CGI, However, it was only noticeable once or twice. It never affected the overall quality of the artwork. In the sound department, I thought the dub was pretty good. The voice actors were able to bring their characters to life, and aside from the occasional awkward delivery, it was enjoyable to listen to. And in the end, I think the awkwardness can be traced back to the cheesy dialogue. With some of the lines they were expected to say, it'd be hard not to sound awkward. The only voice that I didn't like was Yui's. I get that she's meant to be the highly energetic one, but did she have to squeal all the time?
But even so, I'm happy. I mean, come on, I get to work with Gildino.
Luckily, it became bearable rather quickly, so it was never a major hindrance. Now, with the soundtrack, every song can be placed into one of two categories. The first half is fairly standard background music that does what it's meant to do, so I can't really complain about it too much. The other half comes from a band called Girls Dead Monster, which is comprised of characters from the show. All of their tracks are very good, but two of them stood out specifically, and one of them is my song. I wouldn't say it's better than any of the band's other music. It has more to do with what it means to the story. It's used to provide the conclusion to the main singer's side plot, and it's beautifully done. While there certainly is nothing wrong with using music solely to set the mood, a soundtrack where all the songs are just playing in the background doesn't do anything for me. I much prefer it when the music is integrated into the story, like they did here. By having some of the tracks take centre stage during significant plot events, it makes them more memorable because they're always going to be associated with those important scenes. And the best example of this is the song titled My Most Precious Treasure. It has a few different versions and it plays at various points throughout the anime, but it's at its most important when it's played during the ending. I've put off talking about the final episode until now because in my opinion, this song is the final episode. The ending wouldn't be complete without it. With how poorly written this got, it would have been very easy to stop caring, and I almost did. I was really close to completely checking out, but this song pulled me back in and made me care again. Despite the characters being underdeveloped, despite the plot holes, despite the pacing being awful, it got me so emotionally invested that I almost cried. If nothing else, Angel Beats is special to me because it's one of the few anime that brought me close to tears, and that just wouldn't have been possible without the music. So with all that being said, I initially wasn't sure if I should recommend this. It's a complete mess, and yet it has those moments that are so incredibly moving that it makes it worth sitting through all the crap. This obviously isn't what everybody thinks. Some will say that you're better off staying away, that it isn't worth it, and those opinions are completely valid. Even with all its weaknesses though, I still think it's something people should check out, and if you end up hating it, at least you'll be able to find many like-minded people to complain about it with. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment, and if you like this video and want to see more, please subscribe as well. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.